Hi, so I want to tell you about the Parable of the Chimpanzees because I absolutely love it. It's a story I used to use quite a lot and one I heard many years ago, and it always makes me smile. Apparently there were a group of researchers who gathered together a group of 10 chimpanzees and put them in a cage. And in this cage, from the roof, they hang some bananas. And of course the chimpanzees want the bananas. So the researchers put a set of ladders in there so the chimpanzees could go up and get the bananas. But those sneaky little devils also put a spray pipe above the ladder. So whenever a chimpanzee went to get those bananas, the researchers would turn on some icy cold water, douse the poor devils in icy cold water, until those 10 chimpanzees learnt that if they went up that ladder, they were going to get cold. So eventually they stopped going up. It didn't matter how many bananas were there, how fresh they were, how appealing they were. They knew they were going to get sprayed, and so they sat at the bottom and never went up to get those bananas. So when the researchers had got that going in the mind of the group, they took away one chimpanzee and introduced a new one. And of course this new chimpanzee sees these bananas and sees this ladder and sets off to get the bananas. And all the other chimpanzees stop him and in chimpanzee language explain to him what's going to happen. And they keep on doing this, the researchers, taking away one old chimpanzee and replacing them with a new one, until gradually the 10 chimpanzees in that cage, not one of them had ever been sprayed with icy cold water. But equally, not one of them would ever go up that ladder to get the bananas. When they saw this, the researchers removed the pipe. They took it away. So there was no possibility of getting sprayed with icy cold water. And of course they kept replacing the chimpanzees to about 5 or 6 generations down the line. And equally, none of those chimpanzees would go up that ladder to get those bananas, even though there was no possibility of them ever getting sprayed. Now that is very often the way we make decisions. Now it's given as an example of the way corporations make the decisions, but it's equally an example of the way that we sometimes make our decisions. Now for some reason, people have got into their head that the only way of telling how a generator performs is to put a resistive load on it. Now I'm not saying that's wrong, I'm saying that that's right. It is a way of telling, but it's not the only way of telling. If you put a capacitor on it and charge it, it's quite true, you don't know how much that generator is generating at that particular time. But when you turn it off and measure the voltage across those capacitors, you certainly know how much that generator has generated. So putting a resistive load across a generator is a fine way of doing things. But to my mind, so is charging a capacitor and then measuring that capacitor. To me, it tells me the same thing. And so sometimes I think we ought to look a little further into what it is that we're doing. I mean, it's not necessary that we're wrong in what we say, but perhaps we should look a little bit further into what it is that we think and what it is we're doing when we're thinking it and doing it. Anyway, I thought I'd share that little parable with you because it does illustrate a point really nicely, and I found it amusing anyway. I hope you did too, and thank you very much for watching.